What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Travelin Hustlas podcast, where we discuss how digital nomads make money. We're about breaking down the silo effect within the nomad community, and we are about providing open conversations that provide you with actionable ideas to turn the hustler into the digital nomad. Because we all hustlers out here, and we're trying to crest, we're trying to get to the point where we want to be. So, my name is Lavelle.
My name is Paris.
And we are welcoming in Anais here to today's show. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you chose van life?
I'm Anais Monique. I am a writer and a new podcaster. I am from California originally, but I've lived a little bit of everywhere. I've been a nomad since very young with my mom, because she was a single mom, so we moved around all the time. And then it was just kind of addicting at that point because she made it really fun. So the lifestyle kind of chose me. I didn't really choose it until later on in life. I became a flight attendant, and it was just go, 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 go from there. And then van life felt like an easy transition because I'd already lived in an airport by that point. I'd had like a dozen roommates in just 2 years. So van life felt like a really great way to have my own space and, not lose everything when I'm trying to move cross country because it's already with me.
So what kind of vehicle are you driving and why did you choose that vehicle?
I am in a big fat girl that I love so much. She's wonderful. She takes care of me. I'm in a huge step van. Well, it's not that big, but it sticks out about 4 or 5 feet out of a parking lot. And if you don't know what a step van is, it's like an ice cream truck or like a FedEx van.
So how long is it?
I'm 23 feet.
23 feet. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So you mentioned that you were used to traveling since you were little. Can you tell us a story about your earliest memory of money?
My earliest memory of money. Ooh. You know what? I don't think I grew up with a great relationship with money. And I say that because, it was just me and my mom for a long time. So I remember battles between her and my father, with child support. So that was like, in my mind, it was like people are trying to hang on to their money. There's a scarcity that they don't even want to give it to their child, right? So there was always a battle with money in that standpoint. And so I learned very early on not to ask for too much because, I don't want I don't want to put my mother in the position to tell me no because she just didn't have it. So I think early on, yeah, my relationship with money was just to preserve, to save. So I'm a great saver now, and to be frugal.
Cool. Cool. So about being a flight attendant. Um, how did you get into that? Like what put you over the edge to choose that profession over any other one?
I think it was just my mom made traveling or moving rather when we were younger. I never went to the same school 2 years in a row. So she made it an adventure. She put my heads in, fictional books and about people from different places and lands. So it was an adventure to me. So when I thought about it at 19, it was just really just to travel, right? It was to seek more adventure. But I never really pursued it until after my divorce. I was like, whew, I need a change. I need adventure at this point because I feel like I've wasted part of my 20s on a toxic relationship. So it was like do or die when I was about 28. My cousins and it was a big group of us. We went to Argentina, and it was right in the middle of my marriage falling apart. And Argentina for me at that moment was like, it just saved me. Like it just took me out of that cloud that we were in Atlanta. And it was just like, why can't you be a flight attendant? Why not? Why not just go seek adventure and allow that to be your lifestyle for a little while? You deserve it. So that kind of like shook me up. I quit what I was doing at the time, which was photography and fashion merchandising. And yeah, that's what I needed at the time. And it really, I feel like it injected me with the youthfulness that I felt like I had that I had squandered on a bad marriage.
Mm.
So how hard is it to like be a flight attendant? And also, are you doing that now? Why are you doing van life?
I'm I'm on the fence. Originally, like pre-pandemic, I did want to work on a plane and live in a van. That was my plan. But when the pandemic hit, I was still like mid build, and then I just didn't build, in 2020 at all. So I'm still kind of like building, but that was my plan to do both. Right now, I'm very on the fence because, before we had issues with unruly passengers and people that just saw us as people that serve Coke and not realizing, like, okay, well, if you choke, if you have a heart attack, if something happens on this plane, if there's a fire, it's not going to be you saving the day. So there's a lot of disrespect that was already happening. And now, with everything being so politicized with the virus, it's even worse. So I just don't know if I really want to put myself in that drama, just because 2020 really took a toll on my mental space, and I feel like I'm really trying to just recharge my body back up and protect my peace at this point. And I'm just like, ooh, to put myself in that position to be constantly fighting with people. I don't know if I can do it yet. So I really commend the people that are out there, flying right now and that have been flying through the pandemic. It's a lot. It's really a lot, not only on your mental, but also on your body. Cause you swell in the air, and it's a lot going on.
Wow. I never put myself in the shoes of the flight attendant. I always, I was always a passenger, so I was always just like, here's my mind. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about them. But wow, that seemed like y'all do go through some things up there in the air. I didn't know about body swelling.
Oh,
So,
yeah, you're exposed to radiation, you're exposed to swelling. I mean, of course, your sleep is off. There's a lot going on.
so what is your bread and butter then? Like, how do you make money on the road?
Previously, I was writing for a startup company called Diversify Van Life. So that's what kind of held me over through the pandemic. It was interesting because in February of 2020, I was asked to volunteer, right? Because they were small. I think at that time, we had like 2,800 followers. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this in my downtime, on my layovers, what have you. And then the pandemic hit, and I reached out to the people I was working with. I was like, I don't think I'm going to have a job anymore, because that's just what happens when there's a big thing that happens with the economy. The airline industry is one of the first things to tank. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to have a job anymore. So if you know anybody, and it just happened to be that I just fell into that, and we started getting sponsorships. And unfortunately, with the uprising in George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, that really set things over the top for us. And we had all of this attention. So we were able to really bring in income with the things that we were doing, with our writing, with our events and whatnot. And so I took great joy. I mean, I haven't counted how many people I interviewed while I was with them, but it was at least several dozen. And I got to meet so many different van lifers through doing that. So that was really sustaining me for a bit through the pandemic. And I just recently left there. So now I'm kind of like in this transition, and I feel like I'm going back to the space that I was in prior to coming aboard with Diversify Van Life, because I was like, I want to create natural products. I want the van to be a space where I can make money out of it. So I was like, I'm going to have a thrift shop up in there. I'm going to sell products. I've done copywriting throughout my adulthood. So, just writing copy for different businesses and their needs. So that was definitely something I was going to fall back on. And at the time, I was thinking also flying. But the good thing with flying that's also great with van life is you don't pay a lot of rent. So right now I'm kind of sitting on a nest egg of security. Like I said, I'm a good saver. And so that has really helped me, be able to take my time and develop these things that I want to eventually make money off of and turn into a bunch of different incomes.
So, would you say that you uh, aspire to be or are planning to be a serial entrepreneur?
Yeah, I feel like I've put my toe in and out of that throughout my adulthood. So I remember sitting in the counselor's office. I was 18 years old, in college. I went to a private art school in Georgia, in Savannah, and the counselor is a white lady sitting across from me. And it gives me chills just thinking about it now. But that was the motivation for me to be like, you know what? Screw all of y'all. I'm going to do it on my own. But she put me in the office and she was just like, well, do you have a credit card? And I'm just like, no, I don't. Like, I don't come from money like that. And she's like, well, then you can't attend anymore. Like, you can't afford this school. And she's like, there's no one you could call. And I'm like, no, there's no one I can call to just like pull $10,000 out of their bank account so I can continue going here for another 4 months. Like, that's not a realistic, viable option for me. And it was something about her being white as well, telling me that I couldn't, like being like this, for lack of a better word, barrier, that motivated me even more to be like, okay, bump all of this. I'm going to start my LLC, which is what I did. I'm going to, become a photographer and start my own business on my own, which is what I did. I'm going to reach out to whatever publication will hire me, which is what I did. And my first interview at that time ended up being Little Kim. And I was just like blown away that I was in this position. I was shaking, like my whole body shaking when I'm interviewing. Because at the time, she was, that was when Nicki Minaj like first came out. So, they had their like tiff. And of course, my editor wanted me to ask her about that. And I'm just like, I don't like confrontation. And of course, she cussed me out. She cussed me all the way out when I asked her about Nicki Minaj. But yeah, that was my first dibble dabble into just getting it on my own. And I feel like because I had that, I knew what that fear felt like. To have something taken from me, that was my fire to just do it myself.
Oh.
So you mentioned that you're a huge saver, and I'm a huge saver. The Will's more the spender, I'm more the saver. So how has van life helped you save?
Oh, van life has helped me save in the same way that being a flight attendant helped me save. But you don't have to pay rent. That's like the number one thing. I think travel in general, when you're exposed to the way that different people live, it also lets you know that, oh, you know what, I don't actually need as much. So I don't need to spend as much as I thought. Like I can actually downsize. I can actually make money off of what I own, in the process of getting rid of it. I remember when I was flying for my first airline, a major airline, I was doing a lot of Latin America, which is considered, an underdeveloped, a lot of underdeveloped countries. And just seeing how happy people are, and they don't live like US Americans, and it is perceived that they have such a lack, and in some spaces they do have a lack of resources, and a lot of it does have to do with us taking their resources. But just seeing that, and how they work as a team and as a community, and there are just so many entrepreneurs there because that's the way of life, that inspired me. It's just like, okay, like I really don't need as much as I thought I did. Like I can live differently. I don't have to succumb to this stereotypical US American lifestyle that's all about luxury and doing the most, and then on top of it, not having to pay like, $1,500 in rent every month. That's just such an easy way to save. Yeah, so it's really helped me tremendously.
Yeah. So I don't need to well maybe I mean that is your perspective is overall, right? It's your overall perspective on the ease of saving money in van life. So when you first started it, was your focus more on looking for a way to make more money, invest more money, or to save more money, or is it always just been saving all the way?
I think with my experience with entrepreneurship and like changing, my lifestyle, I wanted to make sure that I didn't get sucked into the rise and grind culture where it's just such a focus on making money only, that you forget about yourself and your body, and the toll that that takes on you. Because for me, the most important thing is love. The most important thing are the relationships that you have. So, you know, for me, it was definitely about finding a balance. So if I'm living smaller, if I'm technically living tiny, if I'm living tiny, if I'm spending less, then I don't really need to make an absorbent amount of money. I need to make enough to cover my cost and then make enough so that I have a means to an end. And my end is whatever my big goal is. So I would try really, really hard to make it less about the money and how much money I'm making, and just making really smart choices. Um, so I'm still trying to find that balance, and I'm letting go of spaces and of people and organizations that don't align with that and that are more focused on the capitalistic side of it, and the not listening to your body side of it. So it's not necessarily like that I prefer investing or that I prefer saving. I think saving is the easiest way to go. Spending less and saving more. I think that's the easiest way. At least for me, it has been. But yeah, I just want to find like a balance. Like for me, my end goal is to buy land. So right now I'm giving myself time because I have that nest egg, because I have done the work and saved a lot of money. Um, I have a little bit of time to say, okay, Anais, like, if you want to start making money with these different skills that you have a little bit of time and leeway to really flex that muscle and see what you can do. Right. Um, but if I'm not able to do that in the time that I've given myself, then I have like a 9 to 5 that I can fall back on and just save enough money in a couple years so that I can get to that end goal.
Now, this nest egg that you talk about, I think is very important for everyone to have a nest egg in van life because we never know what's going to
Oh, yeah.
happen. So, what I want to know is, how has this nest egg been able to help you throughout your van life journey? Have you had any like emergency expenses that you had to pay for, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, and I like to like plan to spend a grip when I get back from a trip. Like I just know that the van's gonna need to go in the shop, it's gonna need to get looked at, and I'm gonna need to spend at least $1,000. So yeah, it's definitely helped me because I don't feel too much pressure. Like it's not putting a strain on my mental space that I need to pour into, creating these different um, avenues of income, right? So it's not putting a strain on my creativity or any of that. So it's giving me space. It's giving me peace. It's giving me space. It's giving me peace. It's giving me a safety net so that I can keep everything going. And thankfully, I don't have that much to just take care of on a monthly basis. But with the van, luckily, I haven't broken down yet, but that is a very typical thing that happens, especially with my vehicle. It's a 96. But yeah, like right now, I got to get my brakes fixed and I need new tires. So it's like, thank God that I have something to fall back on, and yeah, I don't feel the pressure.
Yeah, and that pressure, I think, is something that we experienced when we first moved into the van because, being in significant debt, um,
Yeah.
you know, and going from our apartment to small cargo van definitely applied some pressure. You just had to go over there. You just had to walk over there. So there was two things that came out to me when you were explaining your financial focus, and it was balance. Balance is a it is a common theme among the nomads that we have brought onto this show, and you are on par with quite a few of them. They have their preferences, but it's about balance overall on there. And then you said you said your big goal. Now, was that big goal to buy land? Because you did say that was your goal, but is that your big goal? Like, once you get the land, what are you trying to do with it? Like,
Yeah, so once I get land, my plan is to turn it into like a multi-use space. Um, when right before I bought my van, I moved in with my grandparents because I was switching airlines. And so I was coming to LA as like a new base. Even though I was coming back home, I hadn't lived here as an adult in forever. So I kept saying, like, I don't know why I'm saving all, because I wanted to really put a focus on saving even more money when I moved in with my grandparents. And I kept saying out loud, I don't know why I'm saving this money, but either I want to buy a commercial property or I want to buy land. And I didn't know like which avenue I wanted to go to until I found van life. I found tiny homes and then I found van life right after that and was just caught in this rabbit hole. And I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to do the land thing. And then in talking to and interviewing so many people in the last year via Diversified Van Life, it was just like, oh yeah, definitely want to turn land into a multi-use space. And then those 19 people that bought land last year and turned it into what is now Freedom, Georgia, that inspired me even more. And then in talking to people in the indigenous community, it inspired me even more. So it's like I want it to be a multi-use space where, people can live permanently and also come and visit, and park up for the weekend. So it's a beautiful space. There's trails, there's a communal food garden, there's a communal space just to fellowship. I want it to be peaceful. I want it to be self-sustaining. And I also want it to be respectful to Indigenous people that live in that area and allow them to also have access and convene with everyone that is there.
I definitely think that space is definitely important. Land. When we first got into van life, we were talking about land real heavy. We're still thinking about it still. It's always a
yeah,
thought.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to buy land next to people I love. So whether y'all decide to still buy land or not, you let me know because I'm gonna be looking to the plots right next to you because I feel like it's just all about expanding that.
yeah. Um, yes, absolutely. We actually. So the funny thing is, oh my goodness, this, this girl cannot sit still.
The doggy.
They tear up all the cables. Um,
She
so
wanted to be
when
on
we,
the podcast.
yeah, she wants to be on here.
Oh, there's the baby. Oh.
She's literally a baby.
Yeah,
So cute.
yeah. So we visited Atlanta a couple of years, not a couple of years ago, but last year for a couple of months. Last year for a couple of months,
Yeah.
and
How'd you like it?
it was cool. We were in school every day, so we really didn't explore. We just kind of got an Airbnb in the West End, but then we realized that maybe home buying was not an option for us at this time.
Mm,
So we immediately pivoted to looking for another van, and that's how we got this one and tacking a couple more years onto van life, so that
yeah.
we can either buy some land. We've been seriously looking at land and alternative, like alternative housing options like Boxable. Have you heard of Boxable?
Boxable. No, please tell me about that.
Boxable is it is a, it's classified as modular housing
Mm-hmm.
in California, but what it is it's a home that folds out on a plot of land. It's a $50,000 studio-sized apartment, like
Is
home.
that like a container home, or
It's
A little bit.
it's like that, but it is
okay?
so unlike it's so it folds up smaller than a container, and it doesn't have some of the limitations that a container has. Um,
Wow.
and it's completely custom, and it comes in on a truck, and then it sets down, and then it's like one of those books from elementary. You open it up, and everything popped out. It's kind
Yeah,
of like that for a house, and they are not yet shipping them, but they're planning on shipping them very soon. So $50,000, you can put it on your plot of land, and you can have home, you know, electricity, solar, and all that stuff. So that
amazing.
sounds way more attractive to us than buying a $250,000 home or something like that, starting off. Maybe down the line, but a plot of land somewhere, and then
Yeah,
a house on that land. You know, for $50,000 sounds real attractive.
yeah, yeah.
So how can people find you either on your social media or what outlets would you provide for our audience?
You can find me on Instagram for sure at Anais Monique, AnaisMoniq. I also have a blog called Curls and Carry-Ons that I write about traveling as a Black woman internationally and both domestic. Um, and that's where I am right now. I have 2 more podcasts in development, so I will be posting about that on my social media very soon. And that's where I am right now.
So, what's your podcast name? What's it about?
I don't even know if I want to say, but it is a death because we're still in pre-production.
Yeah.
But I do have one solo random episode on a podcast for Curls and Carry-Ons, my blog. And so I will be relaunching that one for sure. The first episode was just like a fluke a few years ago. I was like, I just think I want to just talk and see what see what happens. And I think I was complaining about the movie The Green Book. But yeah, so that will be relaunched, and then there will be a new one that I have with a co-host that I'm very excited about, and we're in pre-production right now.
Okay. So, all right. It's a pleasure speaking with you. Um, and thank you very much for being one of our first guests on the Travelin' Hustlers podcast. You definitely are a traveling hustler in the most accurate sense.
Oh, I
So,
really appreciate that. Thank you. I
yeah.
have to say thank y'all for inviting me on. I always say this to you, and I'm just going to say it again so it's in recorded history. Y'all were a catalyst to really bring the BIPOC traveling community together. I very much so believe that. And I love how y'all are vulnerable with y'all's journey, whether that be, via what y'all are doing with your money or how you guys are experiencing van life. I think it's a really beautiful example, and it helps me every day to just be vulnerable and be honest about what I'm also going through. So thank y'all very much for having me.
Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, very welcome, very welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Traveling Hustlers podcast, where we discuss how digital nomads make money, such as Anais, Monique here, our great guest. We are about breaking down that silo effect in the nomad community and sharing all the knowledge and sharing all the wealth with everyone, inspiring them to change their hustle into being digital nomads. So, peace out, y'all. What is your next move?
Later.